Hi, Haley.
Hello, Brian. We're back.
We're back. I was gonna, we were talking it before we started, and I shared with you that a friend of mine died of a rare disease recently, and it got me thinking about something that I had already been thinking about, but it's about time and
Mhm.
uh, and how we can't take for granted unlimited time. And it's one of our most precious commodities. When I look at Ray, I know I have the love, but I don't know how much time I have.
Mhm.
None of us do. You don't know
Not
what's going to happen to Hugo today. You don't know,
me.
or you. Yeah. Well, I'll keep you on the lines. Get you through the day. But what do you think about the issue
I
of
think
time?
I call it the privilege of time. And I think it's part of the maturity of the hero's journey is that you get to really value presence and time and like your energy. And I think they're all interchangeable words. When you're talking about time, you're talking about presence, you're talking about where your energy goes. So I
Yes.
call it the privilege of time, where I'm very present with the privilege it is to be right here, right now, and everything that is around me right here, right now. And what I strive every day is to be in the privilege of time with everything that is around me. So I'm talking to you now. I'm in the privilege of your time, and you're in the privilege of my time. May we
Hmm.
both be equal in that privilege, like you're recognizing the privilege, I'm recognizing the privilege. Let's make this wonderful. And sort of that maturity of the hero's journey is having the courage to really own being in the privilege of time and making sure that the people that you spend time with value that privilege of time too, and sort of lessening your time with people that don't really aren't on the same page or have a different definition of time and presence and energy.
And it's a waste of time to look back in your life and think about what time you wasted.
I think it's a I think it's a sadness to do that. I
Yeah.
think
Well,
hindsight,
it takes you out of the moment.
yeah, and I think it puts you in the energy of sadness, like you've lost something.
Yeah.
And I think hindsight is really important because it allows us the opportunity to look back and see how we can be better now or celebrate that, thank God I had that lesson and I'm not still doing it now. But we can't use hindsight to change the past. And I think no matter how much we think we can change time and space, we can't change the past. We can't manifest a secret wormhole to go and change the past. It's done. So I think it's more of a be present with where we are today and the privilege of time today and be thankful that things happened in the past that were all steps in us being able to speak today. Like perhaps if I hadn't gone through some of the things that I'd gone through, I wouldn't be speaking with you right now. Like you and I
No.
wouldn't have intersected. And I
No,
feel like which is a bigger loss, you and I not speaking or that tough moment?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I am reading, that I read these man-on-man romance.
Romantic novels.
Yeah. And in the previous book, a brother said to his brother, who he was feeling estranged from, "You're just too much." And I thought, am I just too much? I can be bigger than life, and I'm sure that it can be intimidating. But so Ray and I were in the pool, and I was telling him this, and I said, am I too much? He said, well, for some people you are, but you're not for me.
Mm-hmm. I think
And I,
we're all,
so changing yourself, trying to change yourself to go back and say, I don't want to be too much is a waste of time.
and I think it's very egoic.
Hmm.
I was thinking today sort of the paradox of ego, how you can be so narcissistic and ego on one side of the ego spectrum, but you can be on the other side of the spectrum, which is the people pleasing, like I want to change myself, and that's very egoic as well. And
It is.
eventually it becomes the same ego. And I think it's, the maturity of being on the hero's journey is that you go through things, hopefully you learn things. And the point of the hero's journey is to reach a place of acceptance, reach a place of surrender, reach a place of equality and humility that we all, we're interconnected, but we all have the gift of our unique perspective. And like, if I don't expect anybody to change for me, why would I expect myself to change for somebody else?
Right. That doesn't mean I can't change.
Doesn't mean I can't change. It
I'm
just
more
means my
patient.
motivation for change is hopefully more authentic.
That's exactly right. I'm more patient and laid back now than I used to
Mm-hmm.
be. Ray will say you're much more relaxed. I didn't consciously change to please others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I changed because of, things I've read, things I've experienced, uh, not wanting to be living at the pace that I have lived through much of my life. Uh, it's too intense. Um, so I changed consciously, but not to please anybody except myself.
Right. And I think I find even now, and especially over the last couple months, that I'm still in a bit of a pattern where I like to people please. And then there's a point in that pattern where I can't do it anymore. And thankfully, my body gives me very clear signals like, you're messing up here, you're making the wrong decisions, or your motivation is wrong. And I then choose, like, I have to have a moment where I'm like, hang on a minute, we're a little bit off kilter here. We have to change. Not because it means other people will be more comfortable. I have to change because I will be more comfortable. And I do believe that, when we change for ourselves so that we are more comfortable from a place of authenticity, the benefit is effortless and far more expansive.
Yeah. I mean, the glory for me, everyone complains in old age, everybody, about doctor's appointments and sore backs and arthritic wrists, etc. But the payoff, boy, is so huge uh, in aging. For me, at least, I can only speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Other people would say, no, it hurts too much. Well, okay. But for me, my gaining the ability to be in the moment, to be more present, to be in awe, uh, when before I didn't really take as much time
Mm-hmm.
to be aware of my surroundings. I was able to, but it was more limited. Now I do it daily,
Yeah.
you know, and that's and I didn't I think I was always like that, as a child, being in wonder, but you turn off that wonder
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you get into a career
Well, you have to
that's
grow up.
intense. Yes. It will grow up by whose standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but so so that's all about time. I mean, changing for the better in your own mind is about making your time feel more comfortable and meaningful
And peaceful. I think
and
peaceful and
peaceful.
comfortable, possibly, I would be using the same word,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
peaceful probably a better word.
Much more peaceful, much less driven. Uh, and, I think about, gosh, I wish everyone sort of came to the same conclusion, but they can't until it's time.
I think,
And and
yeah,
age may not be time. I mean, it can be that, your mom dies or whatever, and
life,
suddenly you
yeah.
shift attitudes. Yeah.
I think, we're all paths lead the same way.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's like spaghetti bolognese where the spaghetti going in 100 million different directions and all mingled together. And sometimes it's a nice even pasta where it has
Uh-huh.
these lovely layers. And I think you kind of have to experience the chaos to be able to have that moment of, can I be better? Can I do better?
Uh-huh.
Make better? And I think we all have to reach that point. I call it the line of enough. We all have to reach a point where we say, that's enough.
Uh-huh.
I've had enough. And then I think at that point, we all start walking towards sort of the same thing. It's not still, we're not walking towards being the same. We're just walking towards the same truth, which to your point is being in the privilege of time, being in the moment of just peace and being able to say, I make decisions because this is my motivation now. The peacefulness, the presence is my motivation.
And not thinking that if you left the moment to go someplace else, that you would feel more peace. Sometimes when watching television, they have this little Irish hamlet, with the cobblestone street, or it's set in a farm, or it's with horses and chickens, or it's set on a river that you fly fish and you think, I'd really, I'd love that life. I'd love that life. And then you forget that your life is perfect and that if you went to the hamlet, people are gossiping a lot. And if you went to the
And they're
and if you
all flirting with everybody else's spouse.
yes, yes, and if you went to the farm or to the river, there are black flies and mosquitoes and all kinds of things you don't have down in southern Florida. So, quit trying to escape thinking that it's going to be better.
And I think that doesn't mean you're not going to feel it.
Right.
I think we all have moments where we're like, oh, that sounds fantastic, or I wish I could be doing that.
Yeah.
We're still going to feel it, but I think we're talking about like once you feel it, let that be the trigger to have gratitude for the life that you have. Because every one of us has something in our life that somebody else thinks is fabulous, is fantastic. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes too, because, summer's rolling around. And before I moved to Mexico, or even when I first moved to Mexico, it was always sort of a short adventure. Where would my next adventure be? Which would be my next country? So if summer rolls around and everybody's traveling and going to Europe, I'm always like, oh, I wish I could be going to Europe. What am I doing
With
with my life that I'm not going to Europe?
right, with my two suitcases that I can go anywhere.
Yeah. And then I
Remember
kind
talking
of,
about that?
and I think it's okay to have those thoughts.
Uh,
It's just, what is your next step now? Are
and
you
what's the
well in
price of
it?
it? Uh-huh.
Or, and I feel it and I'm like, oh man, I wish like I could kind of almost imagine myself sitting in a little cafe having a coffee and like the Europeanness. And then I'm just like, no, this is pretty good.
Yeah, how many Americans do you imagine now at this moment in their life wish they were where you are in
Right.
Mexico in a small community? I mean, everyone has an idea that it's going to be better and there are going to be no problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh,
And I think it's time is almost like sort of inflation. It just keeps the cost of it or the price of it just keeps rising, 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 especially when we're talking like have so much social media in front of us now and so much sort of noise blaring at us, which all of that noise is basically pushing the comparison. Look what they're doing, look what they can afford. What are you doing? If
right,
you just put like, did this month, this is what you could have.
right. We used to have a significant amount of money more than we do now. And we could go on cruises and we could go to Europe at the drop of a hat, and we can't do that anymore. And I sometimes I live in resentment of the people who won't pay us back, can't pay us back, whatever, the money we loan them. But then I realized, Brian, you don't want to travel. You've already seen the world. Your body does not want to get into an airplane. You're not missing anything by going to a little French cafe. You don't drink wine anyway. What are you thinking?
The cheese is just too rich these days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that the mind creates something that you don't need. Um, if you think it through.
What I have learned, the gift of hindsight, what I have learned in my life and being able to look back is that I always have what I need. So when it was time for me to be traveling like that, I had what I needed to travel like.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I sit and have my moment of like, all right, comparing the old life to the new life. I'm like, I still have what I need. It's just what I need now has a different motivation. Because when I was traveling like that, as much as it was fun, it was also escaping.
Yes.
It
And
was
it was
very
also
much escaping. It was very much just moving, 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 moving. Whereas now I have all the resources I need to be present.
living like that when we did was comparative living. Oh, I've been to France. Oh, I did too. Where did you go?
Yeah,
Because everyone else seems to be going to France and I haven't. And, what's wrong with me? You know, so we get
it's
competitive
very competitive.
in our lifestyle
The summer
and
plans and the Christmas plans, very competitive.
hoping everything is perfect.
Hmm.
I've lived wanting things to be perfect. The Christmas packages, the
Hmm.
Christmas party, the tree, your birthday, whatever it is, had to be perfect. And while I don't regret it now, I'm glad to not be living with that need at this time in my life. You come to the house and I may not have vacuumed just before you arrived,
You
right? I
probably
may
will have.
I may not have fluffed pillows. I may not have, taken the sheet off the guest room bed because the dog usually gets on it. I may not have done all that. And it's okay now, but it used to be not okay.
Hmm.
I spent a lot of time competitively living and uh, and it's nice not to. I enjoy what I've created in terms of garden, when I drive into the driveway. I enjoy it, but I'm not sitting there thinking, and it's better than yours, right? Because I don't care. Yours is on the other side of your house. Ours is as you drive in. I mean,
Hmm.
it's also around the house, but anyway, everyone chooses for themselves what they're going to do. And if I'm planting to make my place look more attractive than yours, I'm going to lose because the plants are always going to die, it's going to freeze. And if I was so wrapped up into uh, spending my time, going back to our theme, uh, competing with you, then for me now it's a waste of time.
And it's a very stressful time, going back to that competitive living. It's just stressful. Like there's no peace in it because you're always striving for more, striving
And
for
there's
more,
always going to be somebody who has more than you.
always. And there's always going to be something new, there's always going to be something bigger, and there's always going to be sort of something to change. And again, that change is always outside of you. A garden is a really great example because if you're competitive about your garden, you're always changing something in the garden, but it's never enough. And, that's what happens when we're super competitive. We're always changing to these goalposts that are always moving.
Yes, yes. Oh yes, the driveway looks great, but maybe one more plant, you know.
Or, oh, I saw this in this driveway. Let me redesign the entire driveway.
Yeah, maybe I should pull up some of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't do that now. I used to go to Home Depot on a regular basis to buy flowers. I don't do that anymore. I look for orchids. Ray's 75th is coming up next week. So I've started buying him orchids and, happy 75th, happy 75th, because he really loves, 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 loves orchids. That's why he spends all of his time outside is fertilizing and watering and hanging. And yeah, it is sweet. I'm so happy for him. And I leave that to him. I don't try to get into the picture. because that's his time.
Hmm.
That's how he enjoys the work that needs to be done. Uh, and I love that. I'm even careful about how much time the dog and Ray have together. I know that if I go out, the dog will come charging to
Hmm.
me and want me to throw the ball. And I don't want to pull the attention away from Ray with his routine with the dog and the ball. You
Yeah.
know, I can get it anytime I want, but I don't want to interrupt his, right? Um, Again, choices we make about how the time, how we spend the time.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm glad about the choices I'm making.
I think, that's where I was saying that, like, when we make those choices from the motivation of what creates peace for me and what expands the peace for me, the benefit is very easy and expansive. And you just making those choices, which you think of a Ray, ends up being something that really makes your relationship with Ray more peaceful, makes the house more peaceful, makes time with Sebastian more peaceful.
Yep.
And I think, I do similar too, because the dogs gravitate to me because I'm the caretaker.
Uh-huh.
Hugo's the fun. And
Well,
so I don't like, if there's ball throwing, they know they go to Hugo. I'm not the ball thrower.
uh-huh. I am the
And
ball thrower.
yes,
I'm the fun guy.
I'm the caretaker, but I'm also I very much like when Hugo's playing with the dogs, I try to step out of it and
Uh-huh.
just stay away from it because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I want, the dogs to have a relationship with him too, and I want
Yep.
him to have a relationship. But also it gives me a bit of peace and quiet too, because I don't have them
Yeah.
following me everywhere.
Yes. And so your relationship, as you said, grows
Yeah.
because there's peace in it. There's
I
not an
really enjoy
agitation.
watching it.
Yeah. There's no agitation of why did you need to come out, when I was
Yeah.
having such fun with the dogs. I
And
don't
I
want
think,
to.
that goes back to hindsight too. When we're talking about time and relationships is really important, because I think very often relationships don't work because we're not valuing the time. We get lazy with the time. And I think that's one of the things that I learned when I look back in hindsight, not just in my relationship, but also looking at other people's relationships and realizing that if we're not paying attention to the time and we're not trying to make the time the best, the relationship suffers.
Yes, it does. You have to prioritize the relationship
Mm-hmm.
over all things, family,
Mm-hmm.
work, right? If we're going to make this work, if we're going to get what we both hope to get out of it, we need to pay attention. And paying attention is deciding where you're going to put your time.
Yeah.
You say to me, let's go down and walk downtown and, go through some antique shops. And I say, you go, I'm busy. I've got stuff that I have to do. So I've chosen not to spend time with you
Mm-hmm.
and for stuff that's not important. I'm not going to remember on my deathbed what paper I was working on, but I am going to remember that I missed time with you.
Yeah. And it's a time is, in there's theories that time isn't even real. It's an illusion.
Time is an illusion.
Yeah. And I think my understanding of that is when we're talking about the time of a clock and
Uh-huh.
days and calendars, I do believe that, like, counting that's an illusion.
Yes, I agree with you.
But when we're talking about time here, we're talking about being present and what are you doing right now from moment to moment, heartbeat to heartbeat, breath to breath.
Yes.
Using that to measure time versus, it's 4 o'clock. You've only got 3 more hours in the day. What are you going to do?
Yeah, Haley, this is not true for you because you're working, but I often don't know what day it is of the
Oh,
week.
I'm with you. I
Yeah.
don't. If I
Well,
don't have
I
my phone,
sometimes I sometimes don't know what month it is.
I
I have to think, okay, what big thing is next? Because you've passed your anniversary. Okay, now raise, so it must be June.
one of the things biggest changes that I see in myself is that, like you, I was very type A perfectionist, and I, used to work where my schedule from like 8 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night was meetings. And I didn't even need to look at my calendar. I knew where and where I needed to
Yeah.
be, who I was
Yes.
meeting, have everything sorted.
Me too.
I'm at the point now where I'm like you. I don't know what time it is from one moment to the next. I don't know what day of the week it is. Month, I'm usually have a good idea what month we're in, but I don't know where we are in the month.
Uh-huh.
I'm always surprised when it's the end and the beginning of a month. Um, I do
I
more or less follow the full moons, but I use my phone now. And I tend to, if I have to check my phone calendar, I'm not really paying attention to what day it is or what date it is. I'm just paying attention to what my phone says. This is what you have today.
when you mentioned social media earlier, I have no presence in social media other than my Facebook post. I don't scroll through other posts. I will for a minute to see if there's anything that catches me. I always go to notifications in case somebody's asked to
Mm-hmm.
be a friend or has sent me a message. But I don't watch TikTok. I don't go to Instagram. I'm not on any of it. I have a Instagram account and I have an account here, an account there, but I never use them. And guess what? I also don't listen to music. People will tell me, they'll name an artist or, a band. I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, if you want to talk about the Beatles, I remember, I can talk about the Beatles, but I just don't pay any attention to it. We never have music on. And I feel like, and I'm not a phone person. I don't, everyone's walking down the street talking to somebody or
Scrolling.
texting or, yeah, I don't have my phone's in my pocket. I only carry it for emergencies.
That's amazing. Do you know how many people, I mean, like, how many people are envious that you have that relationship with your phone?
I don't, I have it. I say, I say, Ray, I'm taking my phone in case I get raped. You know,
But
and
it's,
he
I very
laughs,
much,
and
it's,
that's actually probably not funny.
but really just having the phone for the purpose of
For
emergency
emergencies, for
is
emergencies.
what it was designed for. And I think for me, time is fleeting when there's a phone involved. An hour goes very quickly when you're scrolling.
And yes,
I, again, the change in me that I've seen is when I was working, I would respond, I would push myself. It would feel like a failure if I didn't respond to your email within an hour.
uh-huh.
And I don't know how I was able to do this, but I pretty much responded to my emails within an hour while I was in back to back meetings. Probably because I wasn't really paying attention to some of those meetings. I was messaging. But now it's 24 hours. Like I will look at the message, and if it's not an emergency or if it's not something where I can like get the tone that somebody needs something from me immediately, it's 8 to 24 hours. Because for me, it's so easy for me to start like, okay, I'm just going to respond to a message. And then all of a sudden I'm in email. And then I'm in social media.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like worrying about like, oh, I should be posting more and my business would be better if I posted more.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then I
Yeah.
don't see because my eyes are so like zoned in on this tiny little phone. So it has become a thing now where people are like, Haley, you're so unresponsive. And I'm like, I'm responsive. I'm responsive if A, you're paying me or if you need something. If it's just how are you? Or, hey, we spoke yesterday, I'm checking with you today. I'm like, you got 4 or 5 hours before I'll respond to that.
Yeah.
It's,
Can I back up a bit because something's bothering me? Um, the irresponsible use of the word rape. I'm trying to be funny with Ray, saying, sometimes when you're older, you also talk about sex outside the relationship, and some hunky guy is going to sexually assault me. But rape is a serious thing, and it ought not to be part of humor. And there are people, there's nothing awful. I got fired for being gay, it was in the papers, blah, blah, blah. I don't think about it. But if I had been raped in my life, that would be a moment of time that I would never forget, I believe. Now, you may tell me differently. I just feel like, I just feel like, I use the word irresponsibly because one, I'm not a woman, although men do get raped. But if I was a woman and I heard that word used casually and as humor, I would pull back
Mhm.
and lose the rest of the conversation
Mhm.
because I would think he doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. Why would he use that example? Does he have any idea what happened to me? Right. So when we talk, I'm bringing it back when we talk about time, right? And I say that my time is focused right now in the moment. That's because I have the luxury of being able to focus in the moment and not have anything from the past, that just is there and I
Well, you've
ignoring it.
also created that luxury.
Yeah.
You've been a conscious creator in having the luxury of being present.
I was sexually molested as a child. Okay. But I don't think about it. I don't. It comes up when I'm right, maybe. And but it wasn't rape, right? But I was a kid and it shouldn't have happened to me.
It shouldn't have
Uh,
happened. And I think it's also, we all have different things that weigh us down.
yeah.
And not one is bigger than the other, or there's no competition when it comes to trauma.
And people may see me as looking through rose-colored glasses, but Haley, truly, when I look back, I don't look at the tough stuff. It's over with, and it's a waste of time and energy to think about it. I think about the good stuff, the positive stuff, the people in my life. I think I've already told you this, that Gregory Maguire, did I tell you he
Mm-hmm.
wrote about writing that, we're the central characters and everybody else is
Mm-hmm.
a, yeah. So I think about the bit players in my life.
I think it's important. Like I am similar. I focus on what I have now and being fully present with that to fully enjoy it and fully celebrate it and fully expand it at the same time.
Mhm.
I also realize that there are parts of my being that, and coming back to time, when I am not in the privilege of time, the past is the trigger. And it's the past that creates this pattern, that creates a trigger that allows me to say, wait a minute, I can be making better decisions.
Mhm.
And then that forces me to make a change. So I think and that, that past, that trigger, again, I think people will get upset with what I'm about to say. It doesn't really matter what it is because it's not a competition about the trauma or what the trigger is. It's
Mhm.
just what's happening to you right now with it.
Yeah.
It's what's important. And being able to come to a place where you're able to use time to change the direction or change the trajectory of that pattern. So I think we all have moments in our life that define who we are today
Mhm.
and define our motivation for change. And that changes, like that definition of motivation for change. Like, what was my motivation for change 10 years ago is not the same motivation for change today.
Right. My motivation for change today, I have an image of who I want to be. The thing that I stumble with most is judgments. And once I get into a judgment, I get a drama going. I get a drama going, and I think, stop, 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 stop. You know, she's not worth it. It's not, don't
It's
go
not
to,
even true.
yeah, and she's not even thinking about you,
Yeah.
or they're not even thinking about you. Uh, it's really hard not to write in Facebook an opinion or a judgment about what's going on politically. because I realize that even though I've come up with something clever, uh, if I put it out there, I'm throwing red meat because my audience is all progressive. You know,
Hmm.
those who the people have asked to be my friends,
They're all in there for a reason.
they're all in there for what I put out, and what
Hmm.
I put out
And to talk
is,
about that, to create a discussion from that.
yeah, yeah, share a thought, but you guys don't have to pick up on it. Uh, one thought that I put out, I haven't gotten these many uh, uh, likes in a long time, was that this is Gay Pride, but I think of it as Gay Gratitude Month. That
Mm,
I'm really
I
that
like that.
I'm really grateful that I'm gay. When I came out to my folks, I wasn't proud. I was scared to death.
Hmm.
Uh, it took me a long time to say, even if I said I was proud, because that was the thing you were supposed to say. I was faking it until I really got it. Why should I be proud? You survived, you should be proud you survived. You should be proud that you took on the church. You should be proud. Blah, 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 blah. Well, great. But besides
When you're in it.
pride, yeah, besides pride, I'm grateful. It's just pride was a reaction to shame, 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 you know, that we would get from people on the street. Pr Gratitude is totally different. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with people on
It's
the
much
street.
softer.
Oh, and it's about me. It's
It's
about
your
me
journey,
being
honoring your journey.
un and not needing any approval and not caring about people's opinions of shame.
It,
So,
it's an interesting journey. And I think, again, time, we have to have that journey of time to get from a place where our motivation is fear to pride to gratitude.
uh-huh.
It takes time. And I don't think we can skip those steps. It's part of the human experience, it's part of us growing, it's part of us moving into being in the privilege of time with peace and gratitude is to be, start from a place of fear and discomfort, move to a place of pride where you kind of have to be sort of big and bold, and then move to a much softer place. Because I think that highlights very conscious, present choices.
Yes, it does. And some of them are unconscious, you
But
know.
I think the ones that we make in fear are the more unconscious choices where we're just like
Mhm.
doing stuff very reactively. And until we hit that point of enough is enough, that's when we start making more conscious decisions. But even once one conscious decision still requires probably 10 unconscious decisions at that point in time.
Uh-huh.
I would say now where I'm at and possibly where you're at now is kind of flipped. It's, for one unconscious decision, there are probably 10 conscious decisions.
Yes. Yes. My decision making in terms of catching myself being not being the person that I want to be
Mm-hmm.
is all conscious.
Yeah.
And it's
And
it's
having,
not all
again, there it's courage and pride to say, I'm proud of who I am and who I'm becoming. So I need to resolve this right now and like show you and show myself that I can take responsibility here.
yes, and I know that I'm practicing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen in one day because I'm become aware of what I'm doing. It takes practice every single day, all day,
Mm-hmm.
to not catch yourself in judgment, to let go, to be a kind person always. Um,
But first,
although,
kind to yourself. Not,
yeah,
when we're saying kind, it's not just kind to other things outside of.
well, I'm much kinder to other people than I am to myself. I'm kind of a strict disciplinarian myself. But
Well,
yeah, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to say, "Hey, you're doing really good.
we're doing okay. Yeah.
You're doing okay. You've become a person that your child would be proud to be."
And I think it's a full circle because ultimately we're coming back into that wonder of a child without, and the innocence of a child without all of the sort of belief systems that stifle that. And I think to be able to come back to that point of like, if I was me at a younger age looking at me now, would I be okay with who I am now? And I think
And
also, I'm pretty sure I'm not pretty sure. I'm certain that the younger version of me would be like, we knew it.
yes,
We knew it. That's why we did certain things because we know that this was going to happen. And I do the same thing with my future self. Like there's a version of me in the future that's already sorted out all of the things that stress me out.
yeah.
So
What
I
is that? I
try and like
wonder.
have conversations and be like, hey, how did you get through this? Let's get through this.
Yep, yep.
Because, we figure it out. And again, time is not linear. There is a past, there is a future, there is a present. And in every present moment, we are creating our past and our future. So I
Yeah.
think it's, comes back to being in the privilege of time and being in the privilege of what can you do right now to make the most of this moment, to honor yourself, honor the past, honor the future, and just be the best that you can be right now. And sometimes that's literally just sitting and being still and being like, this is good. I'm good. I'm okay.
Ex exactly. It's not about beating yourself up because you're not yet the person that you want to be.
Well,
You
it's
know,
not looking
go
at the
ahead.
corner and being like, oh, there's a spider web. I need to get that down now. That will make the
Uh-huh.
future better.
Yeah, no, reading the Tao Te Ching daily, and the Prayer of St. Francis, but it tells you don't try to be something you're not.
Mhm.
Just be, let other things be. Don't try to control nature. Don't, just let other people be who they are. They'll change when it's time for them to change. You sit with yourself and you will change when it's time for you to change,
Mhm.
but you can't force it.
No, as much as we try.
Well, it's like forcing metamorphosis. If you try to force it, the butterfly is never going to emerge.
Mm-mm.
It's going to get stuck,
Right. And rot.
and the wing's not going to develop or whatever. So you have to leave the caterpillar alone. It'll get where it's going in its own time, but without your help.
And I think when we're in the privilege of time, when we're being present, we're also very allowing. And we're very allowing of letting other things happen and the synchronicity of other things happen without being in that forcing energy. So when we're present, like I'm talking to you and I'm super focused on like I'm with Brian, my time is with Brian. I'm
Right.
not forcing what I need to do to make my life better in 5 years.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty and the necessity of being present with people and being in the privilege of time. It allows us to just step out of that constant creating and just let things be, let synchronicities happen without us trying to micromanage.
Well, one fun thing, at least for me, that you've just talked about is that I am going to be different in 5 years
Mm-hmm.
if I have 5 years, but I'm going to be different than I am the person talking to you right now. Uh, my stopping our conversation to go back and talk about how uncomfortable I was using the example of rape. In the past, I would have hoped that everyone forgot that and not talk about it.
Just
I,
gloss over it.
I can't sit there anymore and let something pass. I have to address it
Mm-hmm.
because that's the person I want to be.
And
Is
it's uncomfortable.
it is uncomfortable to imagine that you possibly could have said something that hurt somebody's feelings.
But it's uncomfortable for other people to be with you while you're correcting. Does that make sense? Have you noticed that? That when
Yeah.
you take a minute to be like, wait a minute, that wasn't right. The like people are like, oh, could you just carry on and gloss over, please?
And why do they feel that?
I I think it's because nobody wants to, I was about to use really strong words. I feel like it's because nobody wants,
To take responsibility?
yeah, that feels really harsh. And I don't know if that comes from being like a child and children being disciplined. So when we're adults, we're like, let's just cut the disciplining.
But we can change if we acknowledge our mistakes, uh, and do it in a way others may notice, right? Uh, we change in the process, and the world around us changes in the process.
I,
Let me
yeah.
Simple example. If, back to the grocery store. If I unintentionally knock a can of tomato sauce uh, onto the floor, onto the aisle, because they had it stacked too high and too, uh, and I walk on, right? Because there are people who are paid to go back
Mm-hmm.
and straighten
Not
it
the
up.
job.
Uh, uh, for me, that's going to bother me the whole time.
Oh,
So I never get out of the aisle before I go back and put the can back on. But to tell you the truth, I never get past the cans before I put the can back on.
I, it's a, I think too, not only is it a thing about correcting myself, but it's also correcting, not necessarily correcting, but making a stand for what I allow around myself.
You're role modeling.
It's one standard. I have one standard for myself and one standard for everybody else. So
Uh-huh.
if I'm not going to make sort of crass jokes or make fun of somebody because maybe they walk funny,
Yeah.
if somebody does that while I'm around them, I'm
Yeah.
also going to be the one that says, that was not funny.
Yeah. Privately take them
Well, I
aside.
will, like, I have been, because I won't laugh at it.
Uh-huh.
So I have, like, on several occasions, it's been like, oh, Haley's here, don't say that kind of stuff around Haley.
That's great.
And I'm, again, I think people very much want to just gloss over that stuff where I'll be like, yeah, it's not funny, or no, I don't get it.
Or that's not me.
Yeah, it's just, it's not the way that I am. And I think it puts people in that awkward position again where they don't know what they should do with themselves.
Right.
It almost
Right.
like turns the mirror on each one in that circle where they're just like, what should I do now?
But it's the first reaction is it's Haley's problem, not
Yeah,
mine. Everyone else
Haley needs
laughed.
to change.
Yeah, everyone else laughed except Haley.
And I think, a quick going back to sort of that younger version of ourselves, I was that younger kid that would just call people out and be like, that's not true or that's not okay when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I
Uh-huh.
remember then making a decision like, that's not the smartest thing to do. Your life's not going to be easy if you continue doing this. And so when
Mhm.
I look at that younger version of me now, that is like, oh, I'm so glad that you're doing it now because it's important to us.
Uh-huh. You're a sensitive child
I think
who was empathetic.
I think I've always just had such a strong sense of what is the right way to be for me and how I don't want to be. And again, it always comes back to the contradiction. And, kindness is a very big part of that. And I think my motivation, even from very young, was like, if that's not kind, why are you doing it? And you shouldn't be teaching kindness if you're turning around and being unkind.
Yes.
And it was a very, very early on. I got into an enormous amount of trouble younger, both at school and at home for calling out adults and their contradictions. And I learned to be quiet because it wasn't fun for me. But now I have, and I don't think it's pride. I think it's courage that holds us in a place right now of, I'm going to be courageous enough to say, no, that's not okay for me. And if it continues, we're not in the privilege of time here, people. You're not in the privilege of my time, and I'm certainly not in the privilege of your time now because now I'm agitated.
I have an image, Haley, of you sitting at the family dinner table. And in the beginning, you would speak up because the little kids often speak up. And folks let you know that they would prefer you be quiet.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you changed and you got the courage to speak up again, then you were a difficult child,
Hmm.
and that you were not the daughter that they hoped for.
No, I had problems.
Right. So the really challenging time you had with your mom and your dad as you got older and older was because, you both set up your forts, and your
Hmm.
folks said, if you want to be part of our fort, you have to shut up and don't embarrass us. And you said, well, if you want to be part of my fort, you got to support me. You
Yep.
got to allow me to be me. Otherwise that bridge is not going to pull up for
Can't build a
you,
bridge.
go down for you.
There's a
Yeah.
big hole in the middle of the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think again, it just takes courage. And I think part of that maturity of being on the hero's journey and part of the maturity of taking responsibility and accountability for your decisions is that sense of peace is driven from this very deep knowing that you have since you were a child. That don't let go of this. You might quieten it for now, but eventually it's going to be your superpower.
It is. And you may not get a lot of support for that.
No,
When you're young, and your peers are not going to give it to you because they're afraid to break rank,
right.
right? And it's all about winning the prize, you know.
And
And
it's
if they
yeah,
stick up for you, they're out of the competition. Uh, but I think it would take a lot to stop somebody from becoming their true selves.
I think it takes a lot. And I think this is where I think when we use the word impossible,
Hmm.
I think that's where impossible sits correctly. It's almost impossible for us not to be our true selves.
I think so too. It's always there.
It's always there and it's always such a strong piece of us that it will do like it'll become so strong that we either feel sick or we do things that just don't feel great while we fight being that self.
Well, it's like the metamorphosis, you know. We will become that butterfly if we give it time.
Eventually.
If we give it time and we don't hurry it
Mhm.
and don't yell at it. Speaking of time,
We're out of time. Well, it's not that we're out of time. Our
no,
time has come to an end for today.
yeah, it's the time that we have agreed, the amount of time we've agreed to spend with each other every other week, hoping that these conversations, well, first of all, it doesn't matter. I'd love it if our conversations impacted people in a positive way. But you and I agreed when we first started talking that if no one listened, it was fine.
It was, it's just a joy to speak with you.
Yes, I love it.
It's
I
my
do.
little anchor of joy, one of my anchors of joy, and now I'm ready to go forward.
Yeah. Do you know you said that about when did we start? 5, 6 years ago?
I want to say it was 6 years ago because it was the first year of COVID.
And in our first conversation, you said, do you want to have, talk next week? I said, sure. I said, I can't pay. And you said, no, you're my anchor of joy. You said that to me all those many years ago
And you're still,
because, and I'm still here.
we're both
You,
still
you,
here.
yeah, you haven't pulled anchor, but, but I thought, how does she even know me? I mean, we've just had this one conversation, but you said you look forward to our time, that it was
Yeah.
grounding for you. I thought, okay, let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this will be after today. We have 3 conversations that I will be posting this week. I know
Okay.
it's Friday, but between today and Monday, I will be sending you the 3 conversations so that whoever
So-
wants to listen, and there are people because every single time there are views on our videos. So there's at least one person in this world that enjoys
yeah,
and
I,
gets
I
something
get
from our
notified.
conversations.
I get notified that people are listening on are you, uh, the movie site.
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy without the
Yep,
movie?
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we will be posting.
And on Facebook, Haley.
Oh,
And,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love you dearly. Thank you for
I
your
know you
time
did.
today. And I hope you have a great week.
And I
So,
hope,
you know, football or soccer starts today.
Yeah, I hope that the disruptions in Mexico City, are taken care of. I know that there's trouble right
There's,
now, but
yeah.
people are waiting for trouble. They wait for opportunities to express their anger.
And I think it's, sometimes it's just, and I'm grateful that there are people out there to highlight injustices.
Mhm. Me
I
too.
hope they just do it safely.
Yes, and keep everyone else safe in the
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Respect everybody else's space and time. So,
Okay, hon.
mwah. Love to you.
Mwah.
Enjoy your garden.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.